Hello, comrades. It's Premier Rever, looking down on the utilitarian city of Revergrad. And I say that because this city has been utilized to spawn forth an entire nation. And when it was originally built, it was just this one little road that, in all honesty, was placed a little bit too close to the border so that it was kind of hard to jam in the coal factory. That was a long time ago, and many lessons have been learned. And we now have the ability to make trains and stuff. There's a few things that we don't have the ability to do, and I have time paused, and it's probably going to stay paused this entire episode because I would like to talk to you guys about a grand plan. I have gone over, so this is almost like a bit of a special episode, you could say, and I've been over here by New Revergrad. So let me zoom back out to where we can kind of see. It's a little far away where we're at. There we go. I think that's a fair view. So what I would like to do is talk about what we can do to really expand and make our nation absolutely great. Take care of a few of the problems that I call, I mean the, less capable engineers in our city. So now I need to step in and straighten these things out. In any event, mistakes that I made. One of like little things. I mean, semi little things. Like this food factory is just a little bit of a fiasco, if I'm honest about it. It certainly could be laid out better. But what I would like to do is say, you know what, we're not going to make food near the farms necessarily. Won't be as efficient in some ways, but we have train tracks. Let's just take all the corn out of here and bring it over to a location. For example, what I think we could do is make food factories in this area. There's where the new Revergrad is, over that way. And what I also did was I kind of went around and looked to make sure we weren't going to plop things down on top of good like resources. So here's where a good coal mine would be, and then I found a little bit more coal, not as good. It will be a fine coal mine, just not as good as doesn't have as much green. Here, I'll show you what I mean. Let's zoom in a bit so you have a chance of seeing it. So if we come here to the coal mine, so that's going to make a real nice coal mine right there. And this one, I think, is certainly worth building one there. So what I'm thinking of is that we'll have some power plants down in this area where we can have the coal brought over to them and make, power for all these plans that we have. But anyway, we could have a series of food factories over here. Now, each one of these is going to kind of require people in a town. But maybe what we'll do is put like a town here that would supply these two. We'll see. We'll have plenty of time to think about it. I just want to get the grand strategy kind of worked out. So Revergrad, the purpose of it will be to have all of the regular buildings, or all of the buildings, the big grand buildings. If we look down here, well, we already have a radio station, but we might put another one up. Well, of course, we'll have a fire station, pollution monitoring. Well, that's a little tiny thing anyway, and a hospital's more utilitarian. We'll definitely have a TV station over in Revergrad. We also have buildings that are in the education related. So we'll have a big purpose of having Revergrad will be to educate people. Now I know we don't need both of these different type of universities, but we will probably build them over here for future kind of considerations. We'll definitely have a party headquarters. The hostels, yeah, we'll have them because, we'll try to set up a real proper, as best we can, medical and, technical university situation. And, of course, we'll have some bus and train platforms. So there's not a huge number of those type buildings, but that will be what Revergrad's about. So picture the center of Revergrad is the big grand buildings and universities, and we'll have try to make it, where people are not living right on top of the center of Revergrad. The center of Revergrad may contain a few houses, but mostly the houses would be surrounding it like a true proper city with a center city zone. Almost, I don't know if any of you have been to Washington, D.C., where you have like the mall in a sense, where there's the Smithsonian Institute and other government buildings kind of surround this whole area, Washington Monument, White House, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, in looking further, there is a decent coal mine that we could put down here. And there is, I called this Ferris field, meaning This is a very good area for iron, as much as anything, because it's not up in the mountains. So we could probably put a good, iron ore collection area here. And same thing, this mountain has good ones. Again, the mine would have to kind of be up in the mountain there, but it's certainly doable, especially now with our OP leveling tool. We can kind of build wherever we want. The challenge is greatly mitigated. This is an oil field. For those of you who watch the live stream, this is where we put our first little outpost in our live stream, is right there. So that's what got me thinking about, oh, you know what? There's oil right here. Just so you guys are a little bit aware, not that it matters too much, this in the live stream, this is where the Revergrad is. This is where our starting city was. And this is about the center of the map, more or less. If we look in each direction, well, this is a mess to look that way, but this is more or less the center of the map, somewhere around here. So anyway, let's see. If we go back over to here, the other and last thing to mention, as far as the grand plan, what I've sort of worked out is putting electrical city kind of like in this area, not to where it would interfere with any kind of an oil industry, which would probably be built maybe this way. Now, I know we already have an oil industry, but one of the things I'm thinking of, and a lot of this can be shipped in with trains. So I'm picturing, starting to build what I would call a massive train system. If we build a 2-track, one way each direction, we're going to allow for 6. Like we're not going to jam things up. We're going to kind of make sure, again, it'll be a lot of work, but, this is a grand plan, right? So in any event, the electrical city, just looking at what it would need if we come over to our construction and look at the various industries, we have electrical components needs plastic, steel, and chemicals. Plastic and chemicals are very oil related, and steel is steel related or iron related. So I could picture a day where with trains, we could take coal from here and get a steel mill going over in this direction maybe. We could get an oil production over here in this kind of area or even down here, whatever kind of works. And then that way we could make, plastics and kind of make more of the stuff locally to provide things to electrical city. So I think that, sort of makes sense. This would be a longer term kind of thought. Like the first thing I really want to do is actually get the electrical components going. So this is the components factory. I didn't really point this out, but we would need plastics and mechanical components along with the electrical components for the electronics. So I would like to get those. Take a deep breath. I was looking down our list and I just sort of went down. This is where I started before I started recording the episode. And I just went down and looked, and we are producing every single thing except for the electrical components and the plastic and the electronics. So we obviously have, or maybe if you've been following the series, we're working on our plastics. So it really only leaves the electronic components and the electronics. So we're really quite close to being self-sufficient. Now, in order to enact this whole entire grand strategy, we can't even, if we come over here and I get my, let's say, leveling tool out and I try to level a little space, I don't have a bulldozer. So we're going to have to push a construction capability over into this direction before we can ever dream of our grand plan. So what I was thinking of, the first thing to do, because it sort of seems like it's out of the way, but pretty central, would be to kind of up in this mountain. It's a little bit of a valley or an alcove there, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to see about getting the construction supplies and whatnot over to here, right? So we would have a train system that would just bring in the steel and the prefab components and the bricks and the lumber, and just kind of keep this stocked up. And then we would have a distribution system of one sort or the other from here. But in order to even, again, this isn't far from the electrical city. We can't level or do anything right here yet. What I was thinking of, just to get started, and this is the reason that I built this here, is that the most friendly way to get over there is to get across this river here and kind of go up over the hill one way or the other, and then there we would be, right? So if we can get a construction thing going maybe in this area, just, enough to get, some of the construction started, like just a mini, we call it an outpost in the live stream. I think that's a good name for it. Now, another thing to think about, this was a request, I'm forgetting at this moment where, but I think it was during the live stream, is to get a tunnel going. So I think another thing that we can plan this episode is one of the reasons I put the food factories here is because, I could put them over this direction, but there's really, this would probably be okay, but it's really not that great. It's getting decentralized, and food is something that, everybody's going to need. So what I'm thinking of is that we build a track that would come off of this line with the corn, right? And we build it straight through that mountain and come back out over here and dump corn. We'll build our food factory town, and we'll have a nice tunnel. But the tunnel, once we get it constructed, would also provide a nice, like we'll put a construction outpost here so that we can start building off into this area. And I don't know how that sounds to you guys, but I like it. And then the other thing that we'll do, maybe even in this episode, is start sort of figuring out a plan at this point, and it's a little bit more long term, to get these components and whatnot built over here, right? Like we have everything we need for Electrical City to make electronic components being made. Well, we don't have the plastic quite yet, but we will, before any of this gets built, we'll have the plastic going. So what I'd like to do is see about getting another tunnel built through here. Now that might mean we knock down some roads, but we've already got our rail system kind of over this direction, and I don't want to interfere with our current ability to make money too much, but I think we could start building, a tunnel through here that would, get us started over on this side of things as well, right? I hope that makes sense. So, and to be honest, getting these components over, or not components, but or I don't want to confuse people with the word components. Yeah, getting the mechanical components over there, getting the ability to haul steel over there, the different things we would need for Electronic City, the parts and pieces, the plastics, would be a bigger priority even than the food. The food would be kind of secondary. So I think now the problem is I don't really have a good, it takes an awful long time for this train station to get everything over there. So it's, one of the big debates that I'm going to have is how we get all of this built in such a way that it kind of makes sense, right? So in any event, probably, and I don't know how to really do this other than I noticed that when you go to, I think we would probably want to start out with a road, right? And let's put on our wireframe tool, not a road, but build a tunnel. So like if we come here, it seems like it wants to keep that tunnel pretty level. So would that be, look at that, 33,000 work days. But the cost of it outside of the work days is not actually that bad, Now that begs the question, do we even want a road tunnel? But I don't know how we would, well, we could do a rail tunnel, right? And just do everything by rail. Is there any significant difference in the cost of a rail tunnel? But the fact of the matter is if we oops, you got to select rail tunnel before you can build one. So if we kind of try to go to the same place with a rail tunnel, no, I think it's about the same. It says 31,000, but I might have clicked a little bit different, or, so it might be slightly cheaper. Is that let's just see. Can I zoom in on the rail tunnel? I just want to see. See, that's just a one-way track. Now here's another question. Let's just... Oh, no, you know what? Let's not plop that down quite yet. You know, I like the idea of coming in there, but there's a... can I even level on this side? Let's see. Can we... Yes, good. So if we level this out and just push this area in a bit into the mountain, just so it's, you know, kind of as short as possible. Plus, I think it would look a little better if it comes out of a cliff side, maybe. Yeah, now let's do the lower terrain tool. We don't want to go too far. No need. A little bit up this hill is some iron, and so I'd kind of like the tunnel to go under any potential future iron mine, though no real plan to deal with that, to be honest. This probably will just save us a few bucks that probably are worth it. Who knows? All right, so that's probably enough. Let's... Okay, so there we go. So now let's do the same thing. Oops, let's zoom out a bit. We'll do the same thing here. Here's really where I kind of want to push the leveling, you know, further in. Just so that I have a little more room to wiggle, so to speak, because I really don't want to tear up. Through all of this construction, I really don't want to stop our ability to produce the things we need to produce, right? So why don't I do a little bit of leveling and then just sort of figure out where I want to put the tunnel. That'll also give me a chance to put a cut in the video in case things go terribly wrong at some point. At least I won't have to redo my whole introduction here, right? So let me be right back in a minute. Okay, so that gave me a minute to get my thoughts together while I was sitting there leveling this out. Didn't take that long. But I came over and said, okay, you know, you can kind of zoom out and see where the tunnel would go. And I said, that looks reasonable. Other than the fact that, here's what I'm thinking. I don't know that I like this leveled spot. Because I don't really necessarily, I don't know that it makes much difference. Like if we came out here or in this general vicinity, like we could try to come out further this way, but to put like tracks in through, like, I mean, this is the town. I don't really necessarily want to move the whole town, where this, I think we can definitely get through here with tracks. In the future, if we were to build steel and plastic and stuff like that over on this side of things, it would make sense that the steel line would come in, because this is going to be kind of similar to what we're producing over in this oil and steel area, right? So what I would say is that I think we want to probably try to come down over this way and then turn in, right? As opposed to coming in here. That would also mean that we can, we have a whole nother, we're going to build another train connection to Revergrad across here. And it sort of means that we could kind of separate the things, right? Like, in other words, we'll have just separate tracks that will deal with the different things. So what I'm thinking, in other words, is that we would be better if you look at where, I mean, I don't want to go right over Iron Mountain here. And another thing to say, if you guys have suggestions for the names that sound more Soviet, I was just more trying to point out where things were. But if you want to call Iron Mountain something that sounds more like something from Eastern Europe, let me know what you think, or any of the other ones. I don't mind. Some of the names are hard for me to say, but I'll do my best. If you pick a hard name for an American to say, then, and if it gets butchered a bit, please don't be too mad at me, I guess. So another thing to say is, at some point here, and let's see if we can even do this here. This might be a bit of an issue and may change the direction that we go. So let's see. Can I level? Oops, that's the destruction tool. Can I level here? Yes. Okay, good. So in other words, I think if we came here, we could probably, well, if we can't, let's see, where are we at? Yeah, this right here would be like straight. So, I mean, if I leveled right here, we could cross this river and then just kind of come right up the river and deal with, well, there is a whole bunch of cliffs there, isn't there? Well, we could probably come right up here and get past the certain cliffs, and then, you know, just as long as we got over this ridge, we would then be in this kind of valley of sorts here. And then there's Electrical City up there. So, yeah, so let me come over pretty much straight like a, oops. Yeah, like straight here-ish. You know what, maybe we'll start leveling a little bit higher up. Not that it matters too much. I don't know. Are all the rivers level in the game? Like, is this, do I know that this, well, you know what, there's no river on the other side. Never mind. All right, so we're going to start, we can have a little bit of a hill. I don't even think it'll hurt because, you know, it'll go right into a bridge. But what we're going to have to do over here is get a construction office kind of right away. So now here I am leveling. And I want to get kind of a nice big area where we can get a construction office going. So I'm going to pause it for a minute. Let me level out this area. Okay, there we go. So I think we have maybe a big enough area. We can always expand it a bit. Maybe, because watch this. Look how close we are. I didn't realize this when we were, like, I just wanted to, yeah, it's a little bit yellow there. Not that it mattered, but I just tried to bring the tool out this way. We are at the absolute maximum, so we're kind of got lucky, I think, on that respect. I could go over here, so I went a little further this way, and I really didn't even measure things out yet. So let's go see, well, here, first let's put in our tunnels, right? So, I say tunnels because, you know, did I level it out? Yeah, pretty straight. So what I want to do is let's get the rail tunnels in. And is it going to matter which one goes where? You know, I don't really think so. I think we just sort of have to destroy whatever we have to destroy down in this area. We might have to make this road potentially go straighter this way. You know, get rid of these power lines temporarily. Might even have to get, you know, do something with these roads. Though there's only so much we can do because this one's, you know, pretty tight, so to speak, coming down the hill. So, well, anyway, in any event, we'll work that out after we get our plan laid out. So, you know what, and if anything, I would think that we would want the rail to be to this side, and then maybe the road to be to this side. The roads, not that they're more flexible, but, you know, I think we'll be in better shape. So let's just see if we can't take a rail from, like, here, say, right? And then come out like, let's see, are we pointing? Yeah, so we'll point. Yeah, I don't have a build on Rubles or anything, so there we go. So then what I want to do is, no way we're not going to have a double rail kind of thing through there. Thank you, GameSafe. So we'll come on out to there. So does this become, okay, so let's, no reason I don't think not to commit to that. So let's see, are they, does one help the other? No. So we've got just what I would call a huge ton of work to do on some tunnels, you know. Now, would we ever want more than 2 across there? No. We're going to have 3 different potential rail connections. So 6 lines coming over this way will be good. We'd probably be cheaper just to build a whole city over there as far as the man hours go. But what we can do is let's go over to our roads and pick the tunnel. So this will actually be the first thing. We'll give it a little bit of space, right? Now, do they have underground power lines? That's going to be another issue here, isn't it? I guess we just have to go up over the hill at that point. How far away are we so we make them nice and parallel? I would call that 2 of the grids. We can probably tell what's parallel when we get over here. Yeah, so like that. I guess we could bring this guy back a little bit, right? All right, there we go. So what is that going to cost us? 36,000. Jeez. Anyway, so but we'll have a nice, you know, that's just going to take a while. This is one of the reasons I wanted to get this all laid out and worked on. Now, are these work? I'm assuming these are done by a rail connection, right? Yeah, you would definitely have them done by a rail connection. So I think what I want to do, for the sake of just moving forward, in a sense, is just basically, we can use an asphalt road for the sake of it. Just get enough of a connection up here. I mean, it should be a permanent connection, but who knows with what we end up having to do here in order to get the rail in, right? So I don't want this road to come over from this direction, even if, you know, and I don't plan on knocking these buildings down. So I'll just take this over this way. You know what, that looks kind of straight, I think. Not that straight matters that much, but might as well just do it straight, right? There we go. So now we'll be able to start working on this. Now, there is, again, let's take a look at the electrical. I mean, I would think, well, we have, you know, the high power right here coming from our power plant. And I don't want to take away too much power, but at the same time, would it make sense? No, you know what? I'm not going to bring over a high power thing. But let's see medium. Yeah, there's no chance of running the electrical through there. So we're going to have to go like up and over. So I would well, you know what? Do we have? Yeah, we can come out of here. So we might as well do that, right? I guess it doesn't really matter where we go over, does it? It's not like it needs to be in line with those things. So maybe we just skirt around here and bring the electrical in. Seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, so let me come from here. And we'll just sort of follow this one for the most part. And instead of going, well, yeah, let's make it a little bit more realistic in the sense of we'll follow this road like to there, and then come on over this way. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been in the mountains of the world, but it's just very unrealistic to build up over top of a mountain. It's just, is that one or two poles? I think that's one. Get charged for every pole. You don't get charged for the distance, other than the distance between the poles is. All right, so we'll just sort of take it straight on over from that point. And let me zoom in a bit. You know what? I'm just gonna keep it back. Yeah, we can go over top of this. Yeah, so you know what? We'll probably head over this way slightly, right? So let's just. Well, if we don't build it the whole way, then the problem is we'll run into problems with construction. Ah, okay. I was wondering about this. There's another question I have. All right, so let's come here, and that'll be enough. And then where are we likely to build? It doesn't matter, does it? So when we do get over here, you know what? Let's go like this. So one of the first, let's do. Yeah, let's come like here. I think that'll be fine. We'll work around that one way or the other. How's that sound? All right, so let's take this and just attach it right up. Good. So let's commit to that, so to speak. Now, here's a question that I had. Can we build a road? You'll know that the map is in multi-layers in the sense of, can we build a road across here? Like we'll just try to put a gravel road down. Yeah, we can. You know, so in other words, it is on a different level, or again, just treated separately. So I was wondering if you could do that. And, oops, let's get that to be red. All right, so one of the reasons I was wondering about that is like, one of the options for this road would be to cut across here potentially. Right, like this is basically to get workers up to this bus stop. Now, you know, obviously we have to come down here. We got to get into the steel mill at this point with the trucks just to get people in there. And again, you get, well, that's not true. We got our people coming from over here, don't we? So we, and I would certainly want, but we could bring the rail road connection over this way more, right? And then bring the rail in here, and then that way it gives us the option to eliminate this if we could, you know, say put a road across here, right? Like, you know, something like that maybe even. It would just, does that make sense? So it's good. Good that we can do that as a future possibility. But we've got a lot of hours to invest just on this. Now, here's another question. Is it worth building another rail over here? Like another rail construction office? And I think it is. You know, especially by the time you consider, you know, or do we just build through here? Well, no. Yeah, there'd be, well, we could purchase, if we get this fired up, it probably would be better to build the rail construction office over here. I don't know if it would take longer, right? Because, you know, obviously we could build the rail connection over rail construction office here much more quickly. Right? I'm not sure exactly where we would do it, but am I ready to start breaking this apart? Well, let's go on with our plan, because kind of no. Like if I, not right this second, like maybe before the video's over or in the next couple, you know, before too much construction's done. But I'd rather sort of work out what we're going to do, you know, in getting Electrical City built. Like, I mean, at this point, worst case scenario, I can drive trucks over there if I have a connection to here, and I can't do anything, and I don't really see us building this as the priority. In other words, like it's important to do, but it's just not. The bigger priority would be to get Electrical City started, and I think the quickest way to do that will be to get across from here. Now, we're already across the river. So the other thing, and look, we got, like, some of these spots look like they very deliberately like made the map so you could build a road right there. So, but the problem is I also want to get the railroad over there relatively quickly, and we also have a pretty big hill. So I'm wondering, there's a little bit more of a landing on the other side right over here, and it looks like it would be a lot more friendly to getting the road and rail up there. Yeah, and Electrical City's all the way over here, so I think it would make sense to take this railroad and the road and come over this way with it, right? And then across. So since the road's a little bit more flexible, let's see if we can't turn our railroad tracks from this point. No, not that. Let's go here. Yeah, so let me come to like here, say. Okay, let's go to like, it's pretty tight. Yeah, let's come up. Nope, can't do that. There you go, can do that though. Ooh, that's a lot of leveling. Alright, let's level it down a little bit like that. make sure this guy can... No, no. What are you doing? Oh, you're not really... I see. Can we... It's not starting out at the same point, so it doesn't... It doesn't really like that, you know? Man, that's not at all what I wanted to do. There we go. That's more like it. Alright, so let's take this guy... And then we'll take this guy and... Like that. Nope. Stop it. Alright, there we go. So now... Do we put a bridge on an angle, which will cost us a little bit more, but... So if we came from, like, say... Here... Alright, now how are we going to get to Electrical City? Is there a better... We're not going to go all the way around there. So it looks like we're coming up, like, say, to right here. So does that sort of make sense, what I just did? No, not really. No, let's delete that. There you go. Now, really, I think I'd come, like, here. So let's come like there. How's that look? I'm not sure if I like the sharpness of the turn at the end of the bridge there, but all right, so now let's see. We'll just get our railroad out straight. To say there, and I'm just going to shoot right for this point here. Yeah, build that up. Nice. Well, it's really building it up, isn't it? Good lord. Ah, what? Okay, well, we now know where our limit is on this side, which is fine. That's all part of it. So let's go from here to say here. Level what we can, and we'll know. Oh, look, this one seems to be going. No, that's the limit right there. All right. Well. Okay, well we know, that we can get started on that anyway, so let's commit to that. There's no reason, not to start at some point here building that railroad. Now the other thing I think we would do is probably just come off of here, right? Like since now I want to keep in mind that I'm not happy with the chemical. I may end up putting more parking spaces on here possibly, so I'd probably rather come off of some point that's not going to interfere with the city too much, and maybe like right here we'll come off with a road and we'll make it a regular old paved road and just kind of come off straight for a minute. Thank you, game save. And then you know what, I don't like that. Let me just cut that back a little bit. Oop, I forgot to use the cancel tool, sorry guys. Alright, so let's do something like this. And then what I'm thinking of is, once we get up closer to here, we would have a construction little outpost right here as far as trucks. Now this isn't so far away. I mean, it's kind of far, but I don't think we would need all kinds of support equipment, right? We would just need whatever we needed to get a construction office here, really, just so we can move one step further, into our leveling and all. So keep this like real lightweight, so to speak, and we'll just send them back for that kind of stuff. So let's just see about leveling off of this this particular spot. Just because it's as far into the thing as we can go today, kind of thing. But this is why I want to get the road and rail like into here, so that we can get these kind of construction depots going. That's probably enough. You don't really need a huge space for a road construction office, or a construction office. Yeah, you need more than that, though. Can I turn it this way, do some building leveling? Not really. Not quite. There we go. Good. So I think this is a pretty square building. I should be able to turn it once it's sort of leveled in there. Again, this will, you can almost look at this as temporary. All right, so now can we turn it this way? And then we'll need to get it, I don't know, do these even need power? Well, we're going to need power over here eventually, but let's just see. Because here's the other thing to say about the said construction office, that if I could just park a bulldozer and an excavator at this one, I would be happy if just that worked, right? Like, I don't really care if it has to go all the way back there. Most of the reason I think you need the power is because you want to have fuel. But at this point, I just really want to be able to level and build to the next step, right? Which would be wherever it runs out of steam again, you know? Because then we'll come in, you know, the goal is really to get, where the heck am I? Like over to here, right? So let's come here and put another reminder, you know, construction offices. Oops. Oh, is that as much as you can do? I didn't think there was a limit. I guess I never really tried to name one that long. There we go. So we know the construction office is where this is really where this track and all is intended for now. Not to say we won't use it for other things. And then what we can do in the future is, you know, if we need more tracks in here, just make sure, you know, we kind of come in not too close to this mountain, which is good because I think we're heading for here, right? So we could bring in a number of tracks along here down the road if we wanted to. Good. So that's another thing sort of accomplished. And then the final thing that I think, you know, may be worth working on is a bridge. Well, you know what? Why don't we just forget about this one for a while? Make that a future plan. Because I think we have, just for at least this episode, we have enough in getting these things pushed over here. And I still want to work on all of this stuff, but more to just improve within limits what we're doing now, like some logistics. So in the next few episodes, we'll ramp up the construction, but I think we really need to get over here with these two construction areas. And I think we can build some track. I think I want to get, the other question is, do we build it, like I said, from over here? So like how far away? Well, we're kind of far with this track. But now I think I want to build the personnel bridge, or the road bridge over here, and then build a construction office for both the rail and make a little mini outpost for materials and supplies over here so that we can push this one forward. Now we might even make this a better supply thing, like say over here. But at least we'll get another construction thing where we can level and plan and build. And then we'll worry about the road and the rail and where it makes sense once we get, you know, a little bit further along. So, all right, let me pause it for a minute just because I need a personal break, and then I will be right back. Okay, so here we are back again. And I had a chance to look at how long the video's gone. So we have a few more minutes. So I came over here, actually, and leveled out a place. Let's turn on the wireframe again. And I think it is worth at least laying this out. So what I did was kind of started here because we want to kind of come straight with our railroad tracks. And came over and said, okay, well, if we put food factories here one day, tried to level a little bit further. This is about the limit as far as we could go with the current construction offices. So I think what we would do, let's just set down these, within reason. I don't want to connect them right now, but if we were to come straight here, let's say, right? So just looking about where that track is, let's just say we came straight across for now. Like that would be where the tracks would start, right? And then if we came along here, that would be nice. But we probably also want to do a little bit of leveling this way. Oh, come on, go. You won't go red for me? There you go. So let's say that that's where we had the tracks, right? So we would want a railway tunnel, I would say from about here, right? Let's see, let's move over so we can have it come out nicely. How about like right there? And then we can do another one. No reason I don't think we can go back the other way. No, I don't want that. There we go. So we would have a railroad tunnel. We might as well, I guess, connect this just since we're here with it. But more importantly, and the reason for laying that out first, I think that sort of takes some priority. It seems to me it would be better to do the road on this side, right? So that means we probably have to level out a little more of this if we can. So let's go over to roads and we'll build an asphalt road. No, can I go? There we go. So that's bringing it down some. That save is, auto save is wonderful sometimes and not so wonderful others, huh? Yeah, so we'll give it a little room. I don't really want to start it there. Let's get this leveled down a little bit more. And I think what we'll do is we'll have the Lumbrisca people work on this. So that's the other side of it is, at some point, I don't want to build too much extra stuff for limited gain, Now, are you just not leveling there anymore? So we have to do the cheaty building level, I guess. Let's find the educational buildings are wonderfully sized and variant. And plus, they also tend to have nice square sides on them. So, yeah, so see, this is certainly taking advantage of game mechanics, I guess you could say, at the very least. All right, so now let's go back to the regular tool so as not to abuse things too much. Now, one thing to note, the old tool is still very useful in the sense that when you're trying to do something like this where you want to make it nicer, I find it's actually kind of better to use this tool, which sort of does a better jiggly kind of levelly thing, Alright, so now let's go back over to our roads and see about building a tunnel. Much like we did over the other way. And let's spin around so we can kind of see it. I don't think it matters how parallel it is through the mountain too much, but there we go. Since those are going to just take so long. Alright, very good. So now, yeah, I think we can come right off of this road, huh? Let's go straight a little bit further. How's that look? Alright, so let's commit to all of that and then go back over to the tracks. And commit to all of that. Again, we're not actually going to start building the tracks until we consider, I think it might be better to try to build some of these things from the other side, sort of depending. But let's see how it goes. Maybe once we build one, but we just need to start pushing over in that direction. And now at least we can start doing things like getting a construction crew up here. So let's see. We're really going to want. Well, what do these guys need for this? So I don't know what the mechanism is. I would imagine an excavator, right? Though you would think a tunnel boring machine would be appropriate as well. But they're going to need really concrete. They're going to need a heaviness on concrete and dumpers. All right, so let's go. Where can we steal? So I think what we're going to do is, as far as the constructions go, we're pretty much done in this area unless we make improvements. So we would want this guy to be, well, you know what, do we just use, this one's really not that far and he's set up for paving. I mean, he's sort of, none of this is going to be pleasant as far as the timing goes, but yeah, so I'm thinking at this point we just use this guy because he's sort of already set up for paving to build this road. And then, of course, we can use this guy to start pushing our railroad tracks over that direction. Now, I don't think they're going to interfere with each other. We'll find out in a minute here. And then, so this guy's sort of not doing anything at that point, is he? So we could possibly steal some stuff from him, depending on, well, we really haven't run our chemical plant too much either, have we? So we need to get that, make sure that's improved. And then we do have this guy here who has equipment, but I think it's definitely better to use this one. But we're still building this, right? So I think even though it's a little bit awkward for the moment, here, let's get rid of this wire frame. We don't need that anymore. I think what I'm going to do, even though it's a bit awkward for this minute, is to take this guy and just have him pave this for starters, right? So at least that's getting done. I do want to fire up the plastics, hopefully in the next episode. I'm sure we can do that by then. It's one of the reasons I actually paused this is because, I do want the plastics to be done and when I can focus on it. So that means this guy is really, look at this. You know what, I'm going to thank you. I think it was Nino who mentioned that this track isn't done. So everybody close your eyes for a second. There you go. So my whole complaining about, it can't recognize to come back and build this is because that little piece of track wasn't done. Or this right here. So another loop-de-loop probably would work up here as far as being able to build tracks from the other direction. So rather than cheat in the future, I will probably make some way for them to turn around if we need to construct so that they come, like if I wanted to take a train track from this way to that way or from this way to that way, which I do want to do at some point here. All right, so we have, this one needs to get worked on, and this is the Importska construction office. So let's see what we have that we can move up here. Now we have an excavator, which we're definitely going to use, paver, asphalt. Boy, that's a long way for them to go without a, is this, okay, this is an open haul that we have. That will be a wonderful one to use, but what we need to do here is let's give him 2 stops. No, not there. Let's give him this stop. The wood cutting post, even though it doesn't really matter. And we're going to give him this unloading station. You know what? That's fine. Look, it says unload in both places. Yeah, I guess we could just send him to the wood cutting post now. But this way he won't pick up any more. So let's start him. And then Reason I want to do that is it's probably going to be quicker to drive these trucks back and forth to get this equipment up here. Not that it matters that much, but we do want a paver and we do want a roller up here. So let's take all the stuff that's going to be able to drive itself. Except for that open haul, and then we'll deal with the open haul in a minute. All right, so all of you are going to come up to here. Good. Now, what are you? You're the covered haul, so what I want you to do... Can I do this? No. It would be nice if I could just click there. But let's go eyeball them down to here and say, okay, first thing I want you to do... Oh, you know what? Really, the first thing we should probably bring up here, right, is the paver. Because then they can get the paving kind of ASAP, not the... Ah, didn't need to close that. All right, good. So we'll have a little bit more. Let me close this. Zoom out so I can move faster. So you are going to go up to here along with a lot of your buddies. And I think we can start playing it for a minute, huh? And then, yeah, it'll take them a little while to get up here. And what I'll do is I'll just, when this guy comes around, then what I'll do is take him and send him both of those flatbeds back over to here to pick up the other equipment via flatbed. I don't usually do that, but it's also halfway across the map that we're going this time too. So now as far as other equipment, oh yeah, look, we can get, let's get this guy and this guy. I don't know how much equipment we actually moved, but let's at least get them up to this depot here where they're bound to provide more. Not a new stop. You know, as a matter of fact, do you have gravel? No. Okay. So let's just get rid of his stops and say, you come to here, and then we can decide whether we move them in depending on what equipment we actually seem to be using. When I don't know how to build a tunnel. I've never done it. So when we go to build these tunnels, we'll see, do they use, I'm assuming they'd use an excavator, but maybe they use a paver, or I don't really know. So, but we'll have those couple trucks now. The other place that, let's look at our other depots to just see. There's a bunch of covered hauls in that one. Yeah, look, there's some more bulldozers and dump trucks that we can possibly grab. And what do you have in here? An oil truck, a paver. Okay, so we have some spare equipment kind of laying around, but that's also, yeah, okay. I think we're in good shape. Like, in other words, I think this paver and excavator could do well here. And I don't want to move it because maybe we need them to go the rest of the way into here. If that makes sense. All right, well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know some people like to see construction happen, but I really wanted to focus on the planning, and I think we have a plan, pretty gigantic plan when you think about it, and we at least have the first baby steps in motion, and we'll have plenty of time to babysit that and expand, you know, as we do things to improve here. I'm not sure how it will work out. There has been suggestions to do some things in a live stream. I know that when I watch YouTube series, I'm not the biggest fan when people cut away to live streams if I feel like, you know, not everybody likes to watch live streams versus regular episodes. So what I think I may do, though, is it may work out fairly well to do just some of this road building and some of the planning. You know, like, I really didn't lay down what the town would look like. And I know some people will have opinions about how to make it look nice. So maybe, depending on the timing of everything, we could do a live stream at some point if you guys thought that was a good idea to just, especially if we kind of get everything over here sort of, you know, where we want it. There's definitely improvements that need to be made. You know, we need to keep an eye on our chemicals. And like I said, I might build out here a little bit more to get some parking spaces. Or loading docks, I really should say, you know, because these things are a little bit jammed up. Now, what's going on here? See, this is the kind of thing we can keep an eye on. Now, you're not waiting, are you? No, you're just loading. Good. No, look, yeah, so you're just loading. Now, you know what the wait would be here? No, you're just taking everything out. Good. Now, how many chemicals do we have? Are we keeping up? You're just kind of... You know what? This guy needs to run back and forth. Yeah, you know what? As painful as it is... How much are we using? Not much, but you know what? Just stop waiting there. Because I can't have you blocking... I can't have you blocking everybody else. And if this guy's going to sit there because we're producing chemicals, then I need to keep this bus stop free. But that's the kind of thing we'll do. I want to talk about getting us, you know, this is going to be a big long-term construction that's going to suck down a lot of money. So I would like to do things in the next couple episodes to just sort of make minor improvements. And, you know, we can even discuss future plans. Like, in other words, I don't want to improve the heck out of this situation because we're going to build another food factory over here. But there are some situations I know that I want to get better improved. Like if we come all the way over to here, we're building up, like right now, we could export some mechanical components. And I think that would get us a decent amount of money. So we'll get some trucks in here or maybe even talk about a rail, but I don't think we're producing so many that we would need a rail here. But hey, that could be... It's pretty easy to micromanage one rail train coming in here and just get them up to, you know, we can decide, okay, now the train's full. Let's send them to Molina or let's send them down to Importska, right? That kind of thing. So I want to just, you know, improve. We'll have our plastics going. We'll be making plastics. You know, we'll need to get plastics down to our clothing. And then clothing's a whole nother discussion. Do we really want to keep this here, or do we want to make a clothing town? You know, so do we get rid of the food factory here, or you know? So I don't really necessarily want to do that. What would Revergrad do if it didn't do, you know, clothing? I mean, it's really not doing. It's doing some bricks, but that's sort of a jammed up mess over here, and you know, maybe we can make Revergrad more of a place for the cattle, right? We take whatever crops we're doing here, and maybe we make a bigger cattle facility somehow. You know, in the future, we won't necessarily need a university here, so that could even get destroyed and moved out. So there's many possibilities, and we'll see about our plans for the future. But I'm pretty excited. We're definitely past the beginning stage, and maybe even getting past the middle stage. We are. If I wasn't planning on such a grand scheme, we could probably plop in electronic components. And I do want to get the electronic components going. So we might even do that. We might even say, you know what, the heck with it. We're going to plop electronic components right here just for the sake of being able to start building electric rail so we don't have to deal with the fuel and the diesel. But again, we're in good shape. No real hurry to do that at this moment. So good. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will see you back for what I'll call a more normal episode next time, where we probably talk. I'm thinking about logistics and, like I said, getting our money up and just getting some of the little nagging problems. So if you guys are aware of things like not finishing that track down there and that I've been doing, just let me know, or suggestions for how to, you know, within the bounds of minor improvements. Things like getting this done where we can export more easily our bitumen and our fuel. And by the way, just getting this connected up will help for getting over here, right? We can run a train over to here to get bitumen, you know, by rail over there, get a little distribution so we don't have to drive all the way back here. So yeah, I'd like to see us bring everything over there by rail, one way or the other. So, all right, great. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good day and take care of yourselves.